the invitation, everyone, is to jump. Feel what jumping feels like. And how are you jumping? 2 feet to 2 feet? You don't have to jump far. Just feel what your potential to jump is. How is that for you? Just notice it. Notice what it feels like. Mm-hmm. And now please come and lie on your back and rest in a comfortable way for a moment on your back, just to check in with how you are arriving today to that position. Observe the contact of your 2 legs, your pelvis, your 2 arms, your back, your head, the right shoulder, the left shoulder. And especially notice the way you're breathing right now. How is the breath moving you? And now please roll to rest on your right side. And you won't be there for very long. Your legs are not too bent. You'll see, you might decide to not bend your legs that much in this lesson, but you'll decide. And now turn your face to look at the ceiling. So you turn to look to the ceiling and you take your left arm and put it behind you on the floor. On the floor. Symmetrical to your right arm. And by the way, some of you have got your arms out at horizontal. Bring them way down, way down. Turn your palms to the floor, and bring your hands toward your pelvis, front and back, front and back. Can you touch your pelvis? And then move your hands away a little bit. That's it, touch your pelvis and then that's it. So your hands are now currently adjacent to you in the front and to the back. My friend who's at the laptop right now, can you lower your screen so I can see you a little more? That would be great. Thank you. A little more, a little more. Perfect. Okay. All right. So there you are. Your right hand is in front of you. Your left hand is behind you. And if that's not comfortable for you, switch sides. You can change now. Maybe now's better. If you want to work it out and you're on the floor, you just flip your legs to the other side and see, is it better for me to have my knees pointing to the left, or is it better for me to have my knees pointing to the right? It's a simple question. Just see, what's it like moving yourself to the other side? Which side is your spine happiest twisting to? Because technically it's a twist. There isn't any way that you can be in this position with your face looking toward the ceiling and your knees pointing at a right angle to where your face is. So you can think about it. There's 90-degree change from where your knees are pointing to where your face is pointing. You're looking at the ceiling. You're looking at the ceiling. I'll repeat it. Your shoulder, the back arm is on the floor, very close to your pelvis. Your front arm is also on the floor, close to your pelvis. Your palms are touching the floor. All right. And now notice how you're breathing there. What's moving? And now slowly begin to slide your left hand, the back hand, down just a little bit. Great, and come back. You don't have to go anywhere. It's not going anywhere far. It's just going down behind you. And notice what parts of you come together as you do that. And how do you breathe? Don't turn it into an exercise. Turn it into a sense of awareness of what you're doing with yourself as you do this movement. And you remember to rest at any time. And remember, if your knees are not too close together, then straighten your legs a little bit. Move your feet further away from you if you feel that you still be comfortable like that. And now pause and reach down with the front hand, the right hand. Very slowly. Notice what you do. Where does your spine change shape? What comes together? Which parts of you come together? It's the front arm reaching down. Your face is looking at the ceiling, not at the camera, or not at your screen, if you can. Good. And then let that go and rest a moment. Just take a moment to rest, whatever you need to do to recuperate. So tonight's lesson is a classic. Many of you have done it before with me. And some of you are doing it for the first time. A classic to me because I've been studying this lesson for 25 years. And I feel each time I'm learning more each time I do it. So I'm hoping that you'll find it equally as rewarding. And now please return to the same side. And you can notice how you do it. You could start on your back and just turn your legs to the side. You could start on your side and turn your face to the ceiling. So those that are arriving a little late, we're on our right side. Our knees are kind of bent. Yep, you turn your face toward the ceiling so that you're looking at a right angle to where your knees are looking. And now we've done a movement of reaching down with the left arm, the one behind you, and then the right arm. So would you now please alternate? So you reach down with one arm and then you reach down with the other. It's a little reaching. It's not a huge thing. Some of you are making it very big. And I would say, how do you reduce the effort so that it becomes a little bit easier for you? You alternate, reaching down with one arm and then reaching down with the other arm. And you'll feel that as you do it, on one side of you, something comes together, and then on the other side of you, something comes together. Go slowly. Doesn't have to be fast. Some of you are going very fast. When you alternate, one is going down and the other is coming up. And you go slower, slow down even more. Because some of you are letting your knees fly apart as you're doing it, which may not be necessary or may be necessary. And also notice, what is your head doing? How does your head move in response to your reaching with one hand and then with the other hand? How are you breathing? How is your head moving? Can you do less than you could do as a maximum movement so that you can get interested in how do you start this movement? And for some of you, you're beginning to think about your head beginning the movement. I can see that you're moving your head to one side and then the hand is joining. Now, let me give a little variation for people that are having trouble. So if you're having trouble, lie on your back, stand your feet, bring your legs together, bend your knees, Come on, the people that are resting now, bend your knees, legs together, and just tilt your legs to one side. Tilt your legs to the right a little bit. Okay, that's it. Stop there. Can you do the movement in that position? If you need to put something like a giant pillow under your knees, you could do that. It doesn't allow you to do something with your spine that the other position allows, but maybe this is something more tolerable. All right, and those that are continuing to explore, I'm going to give you a new idea. Pause for a moment. And now if you lift your head just a little bit from the ground, no, just a little bit. So you lift, some of you are lifting your head way off the ground. You're just lifting your head to break contact with the floor and you're reaching again. So reach alternately, right and left, but just lift your head a tiny bit. It may be more difficult, but just bring your chin towards your chest. Don't hold your breath and let your eyes just look as if they're going to see your knees and feel when you lift your head like this, how is the movement different? how far down into your spine can you make the movement travel? All right, leave it and rest. Rest again. So it's interesting. For some people, their head is lifting a lot and they're swinging, making a big arc right and left. And for some people, the lifting of the head is not necessarily making it any easier yet. In fact, it might feel even more difficult. But the truth is, it's really a process of change. So feeling what happens at the beginning and what happens later is all part of this process. So again, bend your knees, and we'll come to the movements of the arms, but with a variation now. So leave your arm that's behind you, same side, your knees are to the right. Whichever side you started on, see if you can continue on that side. And now you're still looking at the ceiling, you're turned. And now the front arm, the right arm, if your knees are to the right, your front arm, can you change its position and bring it up overhead? So it's just resting above your shoulder on the floor so that the back of your hand is on the floor. Your head is not on your arm. Your head is still on the floor looking at the ceiling. Your left arm is behind you. Okay, so now gently lengthen your right arm, the one that's above your head, and feel what movement happens when you lengthen your right arm. What happens in your ribs and your spine? Well, how do you breathe when you lengthen the front arm? And don't think you're going anywhere far. It's just your arm moving a little, but hopefully connecting deeper and deeper into you with each movement. And now stop with the right arm and just lengthen the left arm, the one that's still palm down behind you. Again, it's a small movement, but what does having the right arm above your head do to the movement of your left arm? How does your spine change shape? How do you breathe? What comes together? And now can you alternate? Once do the right arm and once do the left arm. And feel how it's different when you reach with the arm that's above your head versus the arm that's below your shoulder. And now pause and switch the arms. In other words, the arm that's above your head, bring it down, your right arm, and bring your left arm above your head. The arm behind you. Your palm is the back of your hand. The back of your hand is resting on the floor, hopefully, or the stool or whatever you've got above you. And get comfortable again. And begin to reach again with now the back arm, your left arm, and feel what happens when you reach with the left arm. Which parts of you participate in the reaching? How far down into your self do you feel that? Again, it's not a movement of just your arm in your shoulder girdle. I mean, it could be, but can you find a way to connect that deeper and deeper and deeper, all the way down into you? And now pause and switch. Can you begin to reach down with the right arm now, the arm in front of you? Don't reach with the left at the same time, just the right. I mean, you might feel like you're reaching with the left, and that's okay. But feel how things come together on the right side and what opens on the left. And maybe this movement is more extensive. Maybe you feel that further down into you. Can you alternate a few times? Can you once do the left arm and then once do the right arm? And as tempting as it might seem to do both at the same time, you kind of are without really thinking about it. Depends on where you put your attention. All right, please bring your left arm back down beside you. And once more, return to the alternating movement where the right arm goes down, and the left goes up a little, and then the left goes up as the right goes down. And just feel now how your head is moving. See now, without much effort, most of you are breaking contact with the floor and your head is just sliding. Now pay attention, stop in the middle. Where's the middle? Where neither arm is up or down. So imagine that's one line. Your movement of your head on the floor, if it was in the sand, it would make an arc. It would arc forward and arc backward. So pay attention to the floor as if it was sand and you were at the beach, and notice, does the arc of movement of your head going forward as you reach with the right arm match the arc of movement to the left with your left arm reaching down? So if you go, some people I notice go further one way than the other. Trim away that furtherness. Make the side that feels easier match the side that has not so much freedom in movement. It's enough to try to bring them into some coordination and feel, where is this movement coming from? It might be your hands, it might be your head, but what's your pelvis doing? Well, connect your pelvis and your legs, your whole self. You'll see it'll get easier. Okay, leave it and rest on your back. Lengthen your legs, lengthen your arms, let everything go. Sense your contact with the floor. Observe how has the contact with the floor changed from what you felt at the beginning. How does your right shoulder, left shoulder meet the floor? What's happened to your breathing? You can roll your head a little to sense the movement of your skull resting with your spine, the neck. And now we'll return to the position, same position, knees bent, legs to the right, facing the ceiling with your face and shoulders. Twist, you're in a twist, essentially. Now in this position, pay attention to your breathing and ensure that you're aware of what's moving as you breathe in and as you breathe out. And now we're going to play a little with the different volumes of your trunk as you breathe. So begin to notice what you can do to increase the pressure in your abdomen toward your pelvis when you breathe out. Can you do that as you breathe out? Can you push your belly, waist, and back outward as you breathe out? And feel, to do that, what are you doing with your chest? And now leave that idea and actually think of squeezing your chest, like as if you could narrow your chest as you breathe out. So think of your chest being squeezed tight, pushing the air out of your lungs. Whatever mechanism that's available to you to do that with, you do it. The arms are quiet right now. It's the movement of breathing that we're attending to. And go back to the first option, which was to push your belly out in all directions, front, side, and back, into the pelvic floor. Expand the pressure there, push it a little by breathing out. And then you'll see that your chest kind of tightens when you do that. So you try it now by tightening your chest as you breathe out on purpose. And then let that go, let that idea rest. And notice how you can always come out of the twist if you need to, but come back to it when we do the breathing. So since we breathe in all places of our trunk, but the movement is to expand the volume of your trunk to let air come in. It's really not that your lungs are muscles and can push. It's the changing volume of your trunk that helps the air come in and go out. So now, again, if you're not in the position, take up the position, knees to the right, arms either side, head facing toward the ceiling. And now, can you pull your abdomen in? Pull your abdomen in and see if you, what do you do with your breath when you do that? When you pull your abdomen in, most of us, not everyone, but most will inhale into their chest. So try that. Inhale into your chest as you pull your abdomen in. You're focusing on narrowing the front, the back, and the sides of your lower trunk. And probably you'll breathe into your chest. And now, can you breathe into your belly on purpose? Breathe into your belly, expanding your belly with your inhalation. Do that 2 or 3 times. And then please switch again so that you do once or 2 breaths for the first pattern of drawing in the abdomen and breathing into the chest, and then pushing the abdomen out as you breathe into your abdomen. I mean, it's an idea rather than that you're really breathing into your abdomen. It's just that the expansion of your lungs, it's just where you put your attention, how you're initiating the breath. Alternate. Okay, and now pause. And let's try something which is not so familiar or easy, I think. Can you breathe out now and expand your chest? Think of like whistling or humming or making a sound, and see if you can expand your chest as you're exhaling. It's a And then go back to breathing in and inflating the chest, and you'll feel that's so much easier. Expand your chest as you breathe in. So that's the sensation of expanding your chest. It's supported by the in-breath. But now at the top of the in-breath, keep expanding your chest or keep it lifted as you breathe out. And understand that this is not your usual pattern, but it's possible. All right. All right. Let's play again. Take another rest, sorry. Just take a rest. Let it all go. Yeah. The important aspect of what we're doing is that the lungs are getting pulled apart by the structures of your trunk. They're a passive element that gets acted on by the muscles. And then, or they get squeezed on by the compression of the contraction of the muscles. Just notice what you do when you're not paying attention to your breath. How does the breath move you freely? Now we have attachments of our lungs. The pleural sac goes all the way up into your neck. And yet the bottom of the diaphragm connects to your pelvis, connects to the front of your spine, connects to muscles that interconnect with the lower parts of your trunk. And now please return to the same position. So we're going to try all 4 things now. So breathe in, expanding your chest. Do that a couple of times. And now breathe in by contracting your abdomen. Contract your abdomen, narrow everything, and breathe in. Just a couple of times like that. So when you pull your abdomen in, you're thinking of your waist and your back. It's the whole lower trunk. Now breathe in by shrinking and flattening your chest. And then breathe in by contracting your abdomen. Now, can you do all those with breathing in? Can we now breathe out with those patterns? Can you think about what you would do to breathe out? So you can breathe out, expanding your belly, as we did at the very beginning. You can breathe out, contracting your chest, shrinking your chest. You can breathe out, expanding your belly, contracting your belly. And you can breathe out, expanding your chest, which at the beginning was probably pretty unfamiliar, but maybe it's getting a little bit easier. And now pause and simply come back to the first movement. Slide your hands alternately, one up as the other goes down, and observe. Let your head slide. So you lift it a little bit from the floor and you let it slide and feel what's happened to the arc-like movement. Where's the center of the arc? Can you feel something all the way down to the lowest part of your spine and pelvis? Is your pelvis involved? Is the lower part of your spine getting involved? Great. And then please leave it and rest on your back. If the movement is getting lighter, getting a little bit more simple, a little bit easier, it's because you're connecting the movement of the arc-like action of your head and the reaching of your hands to the biggest muscles in your structure. The biggest muscles in your structure are around your pelvis. They are by far the biggest muscles, the biggest diameter of muscles, the thickest. Think of it that way. When those muscles are involved in an action like moving your head right and left or reaching with your arms, then the movement becomes lighter. It's not so much about your hand. It is initiating, but it's guiding where the power is coming from, which is deep inside you, deep down in your pelvis. And the more your pelvis is involved, the more light the movement of your head, your shoulders, and your arms becomes. So let's refine the movement now a little bit, because of course we have all sorts of interesting habits going on. Please return to the same position. Your knees are to the right. So, it's understandable that some of you are really desiring to switch sides or to do the other. I don't mind. Do what you need to do. This is constructive play. But if you want to feel the difference in what the lesson can provide, maybe you'll repeat it just sticking to one side, because it will show you how profoundly you can change. And it won't change one side of you. Both sides will change. So now with your arms either side of you, attempt to not lift your head now. Allow your head to roll and pay attention when you reach with your left arm, the arm behind you. Notice what you do with your eyes. When the left arm reaches down, your eyes look to the left as your head rolls to the left. And then when you reach down with the right arm, your head rolls to the right and your eyes roll to the right. Stop in the middle and please decouple that action. So in other words, when you reach down with the left arm, roll your eyes to the right. Don't make it as big a movement. It doesn't have to be so huge. Make it smaller, in fact, and feel. How is it when you when you reach with your right arm, what do? Are your eyes going with your head? Or is your head able to go one way and your eyes the opposite? And I'll tell you, it's not simple. So break it down, make it smaller. Now, many of you are lifting and sliding your head and turning it the other way so that your head follows your eyes. That's not necessarily so. Stop, everybody. Stop in the middle. Okay, don't reach with your arms. Just roll your head to the right and keep looking at the ceiling. Look at the ceiling. Roll your head to the right. Come back. Roll your head to the left. You're still bending your head, some of you. Just, okay, put your right hand on your forehead. Do not lift your head. Just roll your head with your hand. That's rolling. Now that's really rolling. Now turn your eyes opposite to where your head's going. If you cannot, it's okay. But just notice that there's a strong desire for your head to go where your eyes are going. But I'm asking you to roll your head in opposition to your eyes. So when your head rolls to the right, your eyes go to the left. When your head rolls to the left, your eyes go to the right. Can you roll your head to the left and move your eyes to the right? Okay, I think you have the idea now. Put your hands back on the floor and just know that it isn't simple to roll your head and your eyes in opposite directions, but you can do it. So try it. Roll your head to the right, reaching down with your right arm, but you look to the left on purpose and come back. Don't make it so big. Keep it small so that you have choices. Let your jaw go. Now some people are reaching down with their left arm, but turning their face to the right. No, your face is still going to turn to the left, but your eyes are going to the right. You can do it. You'll find it. All right, let me help you in another way. Come back to the middle. Just notice where your shoulders are right now. For many people, with your knees still to the right, your left shoulder is much closer to the floor than it was at the beginning. Do you notice that? Now, in that place where you're resting, can you simply lift your head a little bit away from the ground and look down as if you could see your knees? You don't have to see them. You do not have to see them, just in the direction. What did your back do when you did that? What did your shoulders do when you lifted your head? Yeah, it did something. Now keep it small and press your head a little bit, the back of your head into the floor. Feel what lifts when you press the back of your head a little bit. Just sense what's moving. All right, and now pause and lift your shoulders away from the floor, both of them. Feel what presses. What are you doing with your breath? Let your shoulders come back to the floor. Now press your shoulders a little bit into the floor. What lifts, what changes when you press your shoulders? Just feel the possibilities. And now rest. And now we're going to couple those things. I'd like you to press your shoulders back as you lift your head a little away from the floor. Press your shoulders back as you do that. And then lower your head. Still lifting too high, many of you. It's just a small movement. So you lifted your head and pressed your shoulders. So what's the opposite to that? Lift your shoulders and you'll feel your head presses anyway, because it does, just a little bit. And now can you alternate those two things? Lift your head, press your shoulders, and then press your head, lift your shoulders. Bop, bop, back and forth. What are you differentiating? What's waking up? What's becoming more alive, more possible for you? All right, now rest. And can you go back to sliding? Well, no, rest. Everybody rest. People just want to get out of that position. So rest on your back. Sense your contact. And what's it going to be like when you begin to reach down with your right hand and your left hand when you're back in that position? How has it changed from doing what you did with your shoulders and your head? So please return to the position. Bend your knees. Bring them to the side. Same side to the right side. Your right hand's behind, right hand's in front, left hand's behind. And just see now how it is to begin to slide your right hand down. Feel what you do with your head. Feel what you do with your eyes. Slide your left hand down. And notice, do you have choice? Are you able to move your eyes independently of the movement of your head? Can you look in different directions as you're moving from one hand backward and then the other hand forward? And then go back to moving your eyes with your hands and your head. Bring everything together, in other words, integrate it all. And notice now, what sort of an arc are you drawing against the floor? Is there a more equidistant excursion of your head and shoulders to the right and to the left? Very good. Please rest on your back. Let it all go. Rest on your back. Observe your contact with the floor. Notice your breathing now. Observe if there is any change in the location of your inhalation. Where do you move when you inhale now? Where are you moving as you exhale? So now please, again, return to your right side with your face still looking at the ceiling. You don't need to have your knees too bent. You don't need to have everything too close to you. The further away your feet are, the straighter your legs are, maybe the more easy it is to be in this position. It doesn't have to be exactly, that your legs have to stick together. They can be close, but not sticking. All right, now in this place, we're going to focus a little more now on what's happening with your legs. So if your knees are to the right, it's your left leg that's on top. So I'd like you to bring your left foot a little bit up to the height away from the floor of your left knee. So you're going to lift your foot, not your knee, your foot. Imagine, actually, somebody has the exact piece of equipment. It's very funny. Imagine a very low table right in front of you, and that you could rest your leg on that table, like a very low coffee table. You could go do it for us, Sherry, if we can show everyone. I'll spotlight Sherry if you can see your screen. She has a reformer there, a Pilates machine, which puts her knee and her foot at the same height. But now you don't get to use the reformer. You got to get back on your mat and create the same thing. So the idea is that your knee and your foot and your hip are all at the same height. That's it, roughly the same height. It doesn't have to be perfect, but, and now notice that your foot doesn't have to be flexed, doesn't have to be pointed. Your foot can be in neutral. All right. Now, if you bend your ankle a little bit, so your toes go towards your knee, just feel what happens when you do that, and then go back to neutral. You can let it hang and then pick it up as if your toes go towards your knee, and feel what happens in the rest of your leg and your pelvis. Good. Okay, rest your leg. You can rest as often as you need. Just remember your face is still oriented towards the ceiling. So if you can, even though your leg is pointing to the right, you're still looking forward. Now, you can do it while your leg's down for a minute. Just feel how much movement do you have in your ankle. So for that much movement that your ankle flexes, so your toes coming toward your knee is the direction you're going in, your heel's reaching down. So for that much bending that you do in your ankle, can you do the same amount of bending in your knee? What's the bending of your knee? So straighten your legs. Some of you are too bent to start with your legs. So wait, so make the angle at your knee a little bit straighter. Sherry especially. Just put your legs together, Sherry. Put them together, and that's it. So you're a little bit more, so the angle at your ankle and the angle at your knee is going to be flexing the same amount. So again, lift your leg and flex your ankle and flex your knee the same amount. No, you're extending your knee, Sherry. You've got to flex your knee and your ankle. That's it. And then lengthen them again. Put them back down. That's it. So you're flexing now, and you'll notice that as you flex your ankle and your knee, you're also going to flex maybe your hip. So can you flex all three joints proportionally and then lengthen them? Flex them all proportionally and then lengthen them. So it's like you're kind of, it's like you're going to kick out, but you don't have to straighten your leg all together. You just bend it and get very interested in what happens when you bend. When you bend your ankle, bend your knee, bend your hip, can you think about your left hip going a little bit closer to the floor behind you when you bend it? It'll make sense. So play with it. So my friend in Brooklyn, when you're bending, you're bringing your hip forward. Could you take your hip backward as you bend it? Imagine you had a walnut between your thigh and your hip, and you wanted to crack it in the front, like you wanted to close that space. And you want to go backward a little bit with that hip. All right, rest on your back. I think I'm maybe pushing a little too much for that. So just rest and feel your two sides. Sense your contact with the floor here. So I'd like to propose another position to feel the movement we were playing with. And now, not everyone is going to be comfortable to do this, but let's see if this makes sense. Maybe by you seeing your leg, maybe you'll understand it a little bit easier. So bend both legs and stand your feet. Leave your right leg standing, but bring your left leg up so that your knee comes towards your chest and your foot goes towards the ceiling. Your foot goes towards the ceiling. Now, if your knee is directly pointing at your shoulder, you won't be able to move it very far. So turn your knee out. Turn your left knee to the left. That's it. And now in that place, put your left hand as a fist inside your groin at the front, between your thigh and your pelvis. No, between your thigh and your pelvis. Higher up, Jeannie. Go up higher, up toward, and now bring your knee towards you and crush your hand. Your hand is right in that place where you would close your hip. That's your hip flexor. So that's what I mean. Imagine a walnut in that place so that you bend your ankle, you bend your knee, and you bring your thigh toward your pelvis to create that closure. And feel what happens with that pelvis on that side. Does it press back into the floor when you do that? That's the pressing back I'm talking about. So please now roll to your right side. You don't have your left hand there to help you. Just remember what you did just now. That's it. And as you bring that knee towards you, take your left hip backwards behind you towards your left hand as you flex your knee. All right. Now, good. Now, stop, rest in this position for a minute. And let me tell you all that the movement you're doing is not proportional for most of us. Proportional will be as much as your ankle bends, that's how much your knee bends, and that's how much your hip bends. Of course, your knee can bend more than your ankle, and your hip can bend even more than your knee. So you've got to bring everything to be proportional with what you do with your ankle. Okay, so lift your left leg, make it parallel. And then as much as you bend your ankle, you bend your knee and your hip. Not one joint bending more than the other, but feel what happens all the way up into you, from your pelvis up into your spine. And think about your left hip going back towards the floor as you flex. Don't stay flexed, you repeat the action. So some are bending their ankle a lot, some are bending their knee a lot, some are bending their hip a lot, and some people have their knee pointing at the ceiling, but your knee's pointing to the right. Your knee is pointing to the right, and you're bending with that in mind. What happens to your spine? What do you do with your head? Can you spread your attention to feel the movement, not just in your hip, but also in your, anyway, it's enough. Rest on your back. It's a challenge, because you're not looking at your leg. You're relying on your proprioceptors, the sense of your joints telling you where your knee is, where your hip is. And now probably some of you feel your left hip is achy, or some part of you is like, whoa, I just did a lot with that left side of me. But feel how your pelvis meets the floor, feel how your back rests. Where are you sensing a difference in the usual way you feel yourself? Can you, for a moment, you can do whatever you like with the left leg now, but just lift your left leg. You can bend your knee, bend your ankle, bend whatever you want, but just lift your left leg a little bit. Don't bring it to stand. Just lift it, bend your knee, and feel how your left hip presses into the floor. Do you feel that backward push? If you don't feel it, stand your right leg, bend your knee, stand your right foot, not your left foot. Okay. And now pick up your left leg a little and press with your right foot, and you'll feel the left hip presses back. The right hip's lifting off the ground. Can you do that pressing back while you're lying with your knees to the right? You'll see it'll start to wake up for you. So turn again, everything to the right. Put your left hand on your hip, maybe. Left hand over your left hip. And just as you now lift your left leg to parallel, and you only bend a little bit. You bend as much as you do in your ankle, in your knee, and your hip. And let your hip go back towards the floor as you do it. That's it. Now it's coming. There we go. Now you can put your left hand on the floor and just do the movement with your left leg. You bend your ankle, you bend your knee, and you bend your hip. Some of you are starting with your knee much more bent than you need to. Your legs can be straighter so that you're bending with consciousness. You're bending all three joints, and you're taking your left hip back towards the floor. That's wonderful. Okay, rest on your back. Very nice. Some of you might be thinking, well, maybe I should have done this on the other side. You could. You could repeat this whole lesson on the other side. But the value is in noticing how different you'll be having done it on this one side. Let's return to an earlier action. Please again bend your knees, roll to the right with your knees. In fact, roll your whole self to the right and then just turn your head back to look at the ceiling and see if that's easier now. Turn your head back to look at the ceiling. Put your right arm and left arm equidistant from your torso. Yeah, that's it. And now you can let your legs rest for a minute and go back to the earlier movement, but start really small so that you can pay attention to how you're breathing. You can pay attention to how your pelvis is moving, because maybe the movement of your pelvis is more important than the movement of your hands or your head. Your hands are reaching, by the way. That's the initial instruction. You reach down with your right hand, you reach down with your left hand. And yet you feel now how much your spine and your pelvis gets to be involved in the movement of your reaching. The reaching of your hands is reaching down into your spine. Now, some of you are rolling your head a lot. That's okay. But what if you break contact with your head just a little bit so your head isn't rolling as much? But even with your head not rolling, what are your eyes doing? So some of you are reaching left and right. It's not left and right, it's down. It's in the direction of your feet. It's not so much left and right, it's more down. Otherwise, you won't need to use your spine and pelvis. If it's just bring your arms out to shoulder height and reach right and left and feel, that's a movement of your shoulder girdle. That's not the same thing. It's not going to capture the whole skeleton in a way that will invite a movement in your big, powerful pelvis, which will make the movement of your head lighter and easier. Terrific. Rest on your back. Notice your breathing. Now, very simply, roll your feet so that your toes, you could actually bring your legs together if it's comfortable, and bring, so you're on your back, your legs are not pointing to the right, you're on your back, your legs are straight, no bent knees. Bring your legs together, make one leg out of your two legs, and bring the knuckles of your big toes together. So now your heels are pressing into the floor. Can you oscillate by contracting your abdomen and look down? No, don't oscillate right, left. No. It's down toward your toes. What if you pull your navel into your spine? Can you lift your head and look at your toes? What do you do with your toes when you do that? Do you lift them or do you point them? And then go back down. Go back down, let your head go. And now lift your lower back and feel, what do you do with your toes? And press your head a little into the floor. It's as if you want to lift your back from the ground. It's not easy. Don't try to lift it. It's not, don't do anything crazy with your head and neck. So now pull your pubic bone toward your face and look down at your pubic bone. Feel your abdomen. That's it. And then put your head back on the floor. Move your pubic bone away from your face and look up as you do it. Look up over your head. That's it. All right, now leave it and rock. Leave your head and just rock up and down and feel your pelvis rocking. Attempt to not bend your knees if you can. I mean, wouldn't be terrible if you did, but just feel the movement and feel what you do with your middle. How does your pelvis get involved in that rocking? It's not all of your feet. Think of your pubic bone rocking up and down. Terrific. Okay, pause. Rest, let that go. Feel your breathing again. So the fellow that runs the trainings in China and Russia that I worked for, who was the guy who organized the giant Amherst training with 240 people. So in conversation with him about this lesson, he said, oh my gosh, Moshe had everything in it but the kitchen sink. There's a lot in this lesson. So now I'm going to add to what he put in this lesson by adding my variation for the ending. So please return with your knees to the right. Again, not too close, not too far, a nice easy bend of your knees, because we're going to do the movement of the left leg again. Remember the flexing of your left leg? Just remember, we're going to do that. Not right away, not right away. First thing I want you to do is go back to the very first movement of the lesson. Reach down with your left hand and just feel what comes together now. How do you do that? It's not about how far you go. It's just to feel, how do you do that now? And that's beautiful. Now with your right hand, reach down and feel what comes together. Not how far, just what comes together. So some of you need to make it a little bit smaller so that you pay attention to how your pelvis is supporting the movement of your arm and your leg. That's plenty, just a little bit. Okay, good. Now, when you reach down with the right arm, What do you feel activates? Is it the front of you or the back of you more so? Yeah. Okay, so now come to the middle, lift your leg, and when your leg comes toward you, when you bend your ankle, bend your knee, bend your hip, reach down with your right arm. Reach down with your right arm as you bend your leg. Don't touch your foot. No, 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 no. Your leg's coming towards you as you reach down with your right arm. And then straighten your leg a little bit as you reach down with your left arm. Straighten your leg as you reach down with your left arm. Straighten your heel away from you. Your left leg only. And do that again. Bend your leg as you reach down with your right arm. Bend your leg, meaning your ankle, your knee, and your hip. And then again, with your left arm, straighten your leg a little bit. All right, pause in the middle. Let your leg come down. Now let's do that in the opposite direction. So you're going to bend your leg, your ankle, your knee, and your hip as you reach down with your left arm. Don't touch your foot. It's not about your foot. Your foot is flexed. My friend, yeah, there you go. And now the other way. Reach down with the right arm and straighten your leg a little bit. Your leg is straightening by your heel going away from you. And then bend your leg as you reach down with your left arm. That's very good. And you straighten it as you reach down with your right arm. All right, rest and notice inside yourself of those two variations, which one did you feel more connected to? Which one felt more comfortable and logical to you? Good, I see some people trying that. So please experiment. Come back to the position and try it. You either straighten your leg or bend your leg. So when you bend it, what are you doing? Reaching with the front hand or the back hand? Or maybe for some of you, it doesn't matter. And for some of you, you're already cooked. You don't have to do any more. You don't need to. Moshe never had this step in the lesson. I've added it. So I felt like I wanted to connect the upper to the lower through the pelvis. How do they connect? Nice. Okay, leave it, please. Rest on your back. Feel your contact with the table, the floor, wherever you are. Feel your breath. Feel your two legs, your two arms, the weight on your pelvis. How are you different to how you were at the beginning? Roll your head a little bit right and left and sense if there's a different sense of that now for you. And then bend your knees, roll to the side, and come up slowly. And it's only if it feels like it would make sense to you. When you're standing, I want you to simply, in standing, first just support yourself on your 2 feet, feel how your feet support you on the ground, and then just bend your ankles enough that you feel, how does the right ankle bend compared to the left ankle? Is it different? Do you sense the side that you did a lot of work on? What do you do with your pelvis? Where does your head go? And how, isn't this the same thing? Bending your ankles, bending your knees, and bending your hips proportionally. So now, if you feel inclined to jump, you could jump, but you don't have to. But walk around and see how it is to be with yourself after having done that lesson. And I will stay around to chat with anyone who wants to chat. And otherwise, I wish you all a good evening. And I will see you next week. Thank you for your attention.